right, welcome everybody. We're so excited to get this one knocked out today. We're going to be talking about scaling a customer service organization. And to do that, I've got Jose joining us from Horatio. Jose, thanks for joining, and how are you?
Thanks for having me, Gabe. Great.
Yeah. I think this is going to be a fun topic. But before we dive in, can you tell us just a little bit about yourself and kind of what you guys are doing over there at Horatio?
Yep. So my name is Jose. I am the CEO and co-founder of Horatio. We are a business process outsourcing company building dedicated, high-performing customer support teams that act as a true extension of your organization. We focus primarily on three main industries: healthcare, fintech, e-commerce, and retail. And we pride ourselves in delivering personalized, human-first service at scale, while also incorporating the latest technologies to make sure that our teams are more efficient.
Yeah, I loved working with Horatio. I think a lot of great things coming out, and I love some of the focus areas you guys work on. So, but today we're going to focus a little bit about scaling. I mean, you've been in the business now for a while, and the conversations you're always having are, how do we do this better, faster, cheaper, scale, in an efficient manner? And so I was hoping to kind of tease from you or pull from you today. From those conversations, what are some of those things you're seeing that people are focusing on to try to effectively scale? So maybe start at the top. What's one of the big conversations you have when talking about effective ways to scale? Where do brands start with that?
I think the first thing that brands should think about when figuring out how to scale a CX organization is making sure that they have the right processes optimized for efficiency.
Okay.
And the right workflows. So making sure that you're understanding what are those repeatable high volume inquiries, such as like order status, refunds, and how you can ensure that your clients are able to access them through either self-service or chatbot features, so you can empower your team to actually focus on like the higher end stuff. So that's the first thing, is making sure they have the right training, the right processes, so that you can empower your team to really provide the best customer experience for your clients.
Love it. Quick double click on that. Do you find that a lot of companies don't have that locked in, or it's not really documented? It is kind of a little bit of a free for all when it comes to like, how do we allow, I love that word, self-service. It's such a thing I think a lot of people are focusing on, but what is the process to self-serve? And it feels bumpy, it feels lumpy.
Yes, I think that a lot of companies don't have the right training plan for their teams. And the first thing that we do at Horatio is like we audit the entire organization to understand like what is missing. How can we figure out how to build this for scale? And it's all about documenting all of those processes, documenting all of the SOPs, understanding what technology you're using and how to leverage that technology. And then the most important thing at the end is how can you track that data and make sure that you have a real-time dashboard that allow you to see the key metrics, the things that you care about, whether it's agent performance or CSAT, and how can you continuously refine operations based on that data.
Oh man, I bet you guys have found some fascinating things running through audits of companies and seeing what's going on. I mean, I won't make you share some of those scary details, but I just at one point, I mean, one of the outcomes of the audit, I assume, is like a visualization or something where you could maybe see those processes and see how things are working through the different customer service functions. Is that true? And is that something that you'd say, again, whether you're working with Horatio or not, you've got to find a way to almost audit your own process and visualize some of those, because what you'll find is there's some real strengths and there's probably a couple of gaps that are maybe a little bit even sometimes hilarious.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's as basic as, sometimes I've seen companies that grew too fast and they didn't even implement a CRM system like Kustomer, for example. So they don't even they live on Gmail and that the first thing we say is like, we need to professionalize, we need to institutionalize your CX
well, you mean,
team
like everything's on Gmail basically, right?
Exactly.
Like doing
crazy.
The whole ticketing.
Or spreadsheets. And so I think that leveraging tools like Kustomer allows companies to really see what the impact of a customer service team has on their overall business. There's so much feedback that a team gathers day in and day out. And if you don't have the right structure and the right documentation and processes and dashboards to see that and visualize it, it's very hard to scale.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's right. You're right. And look, that is there's a right time for everything. I mean, a lot of people as they start, maybe the spreadsheet is the right place to start, but as you scale, it is about how do we turn those processes into something that obviously can work and work effectively. Okay, so
Yeah.
and I love some of the I love the Gmail example. I'm thinking of somebody I saw, and it was a mass. I got to give them credit if they're listening. It was a master craft of using Gmail for customer service, but it felt like duct tape and bale wire, and it's at some point it was going to probably explode. So there is a time to upgrade. Okay, so first one, when we think about scaling, is more about process optimization and efficiency. That's kind of where you go there, and that's a big problem
Yep.
kind of seen. Where do you typically? Where's the next big conversation that you kind of talk to companies about? Is they think about scaling?
The second big conversation is around people and hiring the right talent.
Oh yeah. I mean, this one feels like it's forever. I personally, I'm interested to hear kind of where maybe some tips, tricks, and techniques, because this one still feels tough. No matter where you are, but I know there's a lot of talk of AI and replacing everybody from the president of the United States down to customer service reps or whatever. But I don't believe it, and I think people are going to still play a huge role in finding the right people so hard. How are you coaching organizations to take that step?
Yeah, I think that's something that we do with our clients is understand what the task at hand is going to be and what are some of the skill sets that those agents are going to require to be successful in their role. But the most important thing is making sure that you find people that are passionate about your brand or your
Mm,
service. Because if they're not passionate about your product, they won't be able to provide amazing customer service.
mm,
So we always try to find people that can really align with the values and the mission of the company that they're going to represent. Because at the end of the day, they're going to be a true
love
extension
that.
of your team, and that's critical.
I love that one. That probably is a miss, especially in the worlds where we're talking about. Let's use e-commerce for example. Like you can't fake passion for the product, right? Like
Right.
when someone really loves the blenders, the clothes, whatever the
Exactly.
product is, that does make a huge difference. Okay, so that's one of those kind of magical, not magical, but key indicators when you're thinking about people and trying to bring
Yep.
you're bringing that into the service organization is what you're talking about. When they have that
Exactly.
passion, the way they service it is just night and day different.
Right. And
Yeah.
then within the CX team that you hire, you have to think about role structuring. You have to
Okay.
start by defining like clear tiers, like what team is able to handle tier one for like general inquiries, what tier two looks like. Are you going to set up a VIP or escalations team that is more like an expert in the product and also has those like upselling skill sets that can help you uh, close with empathy when you're dealing with difficult customers. So thinking about role structuring is something that I always recommend teams to look into when
I
figuring
love
out
that.
how to build their team.
What is if I ask you to go one more click on that? I mean, what's the typical scaling that you see organizations do? Level one, level two, level three? Do you see them go quicker product specialization? Do you see them go industry, vertical, location? Like, how does the scaling typical one manager per 10 reps? Is there any quick things you're seeing when it kind of goes fast and they got to kind of get that team going pretty quick?
Yeah, typically we start with tier one and then
Okay.
we go up the ladder and we also try to like promote from within. Like if you start as a tier one agent, like you can get promoted to become a tier two or tier three agent.
Cool. I love
And
that. I love
we
that
look at
farm like model.
we look at ratios in terms of like not only lead like team lead or team manager but also like quality and training. Like for us it's very important to continue to provide feedback to the agents on like how they can continue to improve, and it's very important that they have a dedicated trainer that is always like upskilling them and helping them become better.
Oh, what do you that has got to be one of the most missed people side of the house because it's one
Yeah.
of the extra things that you can't quite quantify as well.
Yeah.
Where do you feel like that ratio is? I mean, once you're at 25, is it one trainer per 25, one per 10, or
Yeah.
how do you
it's
manage that? Because it gets tough, doesn't it?
It really depends on the complexity of the product or
Yeah.
service. I would say for general e-commerce, I think one for every 15 or 20 is fine.
Is that
When
okay? Hmm.
when we talk about healthcare or financial services, which is a more complex product or service, then we recommend like 1 to 10, 1 to 15.
Yeah. Is kind of about the rightest ratio. On management numbers, where do you kind of see ratios going there? Again, you're just around the space. I'm curious. Similar types of numbers with some of the automation. Are people seeing, more like a 1 to 10 or 12? Or you're like, no, if you have a good management structure that scales, really try to keep that personalization there, and it's 1 to 5 or 5 to 10.
Yeah, it's more 1 to 10, 1 to 10,
Yeah.
1 to 12 is the
Mhm.
base.
Yeah, that probably feels more right in that instance. So I love thinking about the scale. And then any advice to companies when they need to put in the tier 2 or tier 3 level? I mean, tier 1 is the obvious kind of, hey, we're going and things are moving. Let's just get some people there. When do you feel like that moment happens where it's like, you know what, we probably should advance and kind of break this team into two and have that level 2 support? Any thoughts on when that happens, or what's kind of the signs companies should be thinking about that for?
It's typically what for more complex issues that are taking longer to handle, that are still important for the business.
I see.
Those are the ones where you're like, okay, maybe we should start building a tier 2 or tier
Yeah.
3 team.
Yeah. Is it too much to go? Why tier 2 versus tier 3? Is that again similar concept where you're just saying, Gabe, once you find, tier 1s really should be, it's a time based 5 minutes, under 5 minutes usually. That's kind of our. If you find that you're getting a lot of 5 to 15 minutes, that's tier 2. And if you find you're getting a lot of 15 to 30 or 15, 30 plus, we have to have tier 3. Why do organizations typically kind of have the 3-tier structure?
Yeah, I think that tier 2 is more for like a little bit more advanced technical expertise than tier 1. So that includes like account issues, billing disputes, like any software bugs that require like detailed logging before escalations, like heavy order fulfillment issues that are not going to be able to be captured by a tier 1 agent or an AI bot. And then like tier 3 is more like really like technical and specialized teams,
Super
like
deep.
true
Yeah.
product experts
Yeah.
that have at least industry expertise, or
Love it.
you want to provide a better level of service for like high value customers, VIP concierge level of stuff,
I like
um,
that.
things like that.
Do you find a lot? Let's just, you mentioned e-commerce. Let's just take one example. Do you find that a lot of e-commerce companies require up to the tier 3, or do most kind of end at that tier 2? It depends on probably the complexity of the product, but what are you seeing mostly?
Yes, I'm seeing a lot of demand for that tier 3 concierge VIP kind of level these
Okay.
days. There are some like ultra VIP clients that have a high AOV and that require that specialized attention, and they don't want to deal with like, um, you know, an AI
Sure.
bot or a junior agent. They want to know that they're being taken care of by an expert that has been there, that has deep technical
Yeah.
expertise, and that can have that high touch and specialized attention to help them. So I am seeing a lot of demand for that, especially as things get more competitive in the e-commerce
Fascinating.
space.
I didn't. I mean, I can see potentially why, but yeah, my initial gut would have probably not gone there. Okay, love it. All right, so we've got thinking about scale a little more on the process and efficiency. I love kind of where you're going on the people hiring tips, a little bit on the structure of how you scale. Give me one more point, maybe. For number 3, what's another kind of topic or point that's often brought up when thinking about a scaling effectively?
Yeah, I think obviously the most relevant thing right now is figuring out where AI fits within your CX strategy.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of things, a lot of people talk about like AI replacing humans. I'm super against that. I'm a big advocate for like that human connection, but I do
Yeah. Yeah.
believe that
Real
AI.
quick on that. Yeah. Why is that? I mean, you're certainly right. I'm sure there's a LinkedIn fight going on right now where somebody's saying, this or that's going to be replaced, and somebody else saying it's not. But
Exactly. I mean, I live
what's your
and breathe
take and
this.
why?
I live and breathe this every day, and we have over 100 clients. And what we're seeing is AI is helping agents become more efficient. I
Yeah.
think it's also creating more work than people think it is removing work.
Hmm.
Just because now we're with
Ooh,
AI,
interesting.
we can personalize better, but obviously that takes time to like understand. AI
Hmm.
can help us like review the customer history faster, but we need to personalize that communication so it sounds like authentic and
Yeah.
leads to better engagement and higher satisfaction. Now we can use predictive analytics to analyze customer sentiment and predict any churn risk. But that creates more work, because now we have a list of people that we have to proactively reach out to, right? And then we have a QA, right? Like before we couldn't audit all interactions. Right now with AI, we can audit all interactions. That results in more tickets that are flagged, which is great. And it overall will help us become more efficient. But at the end of the day, we have to provide coaching and feedback and training and all of that. And that requires a lot of people, right? The agent assist tools are suggesting responses. They're summarizing our customer interactions. They're providing like amazing recommendations, but it still requires, I mean, if you're a high touch brand, you still want a human to like make sure that makes sense before it goes out to a person, right? So, so we're fascinated by the fact that like they're helping us, but I think you have to understand like what does that fit within your entire organization, and how are your customers seeing that? Are they seeing any value from it? Do you want it to be client facing, or do you want it to help internally in terms of like processes and helping your internal agents?
Wow. Okay, man, you've opened up a lot here. I know we only have a few more minutes. I might want to talk to you for a few more hours here, but let's see if we can just double click on a couple of those areas. But I love the point on, in some cases, it's actually giving us more work. I mean, I am hearing that more, like, you know, and in some ways it's a good thing, right? Like to your point, you're maybe getting more proactive, but I think that is an interesting dilemma. That's some people are like, hey, I thought I'd be doing so much less, but at the same time, we're doing a little more, but it's more with an asterisk next to it. I think that's such an important point. I just wanted to highlight that. You of all people, though, as you walked through that, you did it fairly quickly, but you're seeing AI in multiple areas. You know, I'm probably seeing it in a little bit more of a condensed area, specifically from where I'm sitting, but you hit on a couple different areas, QA and agent support and stuff like that. Where do you feel like right now people are seeing the most value from AI? Thinking of a use case, is it sentiment analysis? Is it agent support? Is it deflection? You know, what are a couple of use cases where you're like, Gabe, if I was starting, I'd probably say brands seeing what I'm seeing in the market, maybe think about double clicking here.
Yeah, I think that there's a misconception about AI where people think that it's a set it and forget it strategy. And what AI is forcing companies to do is to like make sure that they have like real documented processes, because if you don't have that embedded, and you're not constantly updating your AI model, then you're going to provide inconsistent information to your clients. So we have dedicated teams of agents within each brand that we work with that are just spending their entire time making sure that they're feeding and training the model on the relevant information. Because if we don't have that, then that's going to lead to a really bad interaction and very low CSAT. And you know, that is something that we're very focused on right now. And then the other thing is like agents are seeing a lot of value from those agent assist tools. That is really helpful.
Really? Yep. That's cool.
And I see that that's where the future is going to go. It's like that co-pilot feature that most people are talking about nowadays.
And you mentioned a couple of the things on the co-pilot that you're seeing, but again, if you went one down, is it the handoffs or the summaries, or is it the suggested response? What are a couple of those things where you're like?
Yeah, I think it's a combination. I think it's the summaries. I think it's the suggested responses. I think that's all of that, particularly when we're talking about like digital channels. When we're talking about voice, that's a different story. I think that there are a lot of great AI voice tools, but you know, I think people still prefer to deal with their complex issue with a human.
Yeah, so we're not quite there yet. We're not
right.
Quite
we're
there.
Not there yet. Right. We're not there yet.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? Things are moving exponentially fast, but I'm with you at this moment. Voice is still a little more tricky than some of those other channels. So dang it. Well, we probably need to end, Jose, but I want to just continue to talk with you about some of that stuff. Such an interesting perspective, seeing it across hundreds of clients, AI and people and processes. I think you bring such an interesting perspective. Really appreciate you taking a minute. If I had to just ask, kind of, you know, take a step back, we obviously hit a couple different topics, but is there one tip or trick that you'd leave for the audience? You know, again, I'm thinking about scale in general, but anything you'd kind of leave with this audience is hey, as you think about scaling your business, you guys don't forget this.
Yes, I think there's something that I forgot that is very important. And I want to stress the importance of culture and retention, and making sure that you understand as a leader that you have to invest in career growth, training, and engagement to keep your top talent. So never forget about the human connection and the employee experience, because that ultimately drives better customer experience for your business. So always make sure that you have your people front and center, and you don't forget about that human touch and that human connectivity.
That's a great one to end on. I think there's so much automation and so much efficiency talk, and you just don't want to forget the people side of the house. I think that's a great way to end. So, okay. Well, Jose, yeah, thank you so much for joining. I think that was a great talk track. And for the audience, have a fantastic day.